I'm joining the ranks of the good, the powerful, the brave, and the famous. My name is Speed. I work at SIPTU. I deal with equality and campaigning. And I just want to talk about maybe the women who are not so famous, but there are hundreds and thousands of them. And they're organised in the trade union movement. When I was asked to speak today, first of all, I was very honoured because I'm speaking about a great woman, Alice Milligan, who at a time of madness of monarchies and imperial war stood out for citizens' rights in a republic. And those ideals have travelled through the century with women in different places. Inside the movement for national self-determination, which takes many different political forms, inside the trade union movement, and also inside the women's movement for equality and freedom. So it's a great honour to be here because those three great social movements have certainly, I think, influenced the formation of my trade union, which, like International Women's Day, is now over 100 years old. And a trade union which was founded by men, but also by young women in this picture. And if you look at them, you can see how very, very young they are. For example, Alice Brady, who was shot by a strikebreaker in 1913, was just 16 years old. So I concur with Lynn when she says that we should look to young women to carry the struggle forward and to listen to them, to engage, to create spaces and to take on the challenges that they give to us. Looking at the faces, I was struck by, thinking what were their hopes and dreams and what have we done in the trade union movement to keep them alive. Now, I haven't been alive 100 years, but I've been alive for over half a century. And I just want to say that I think that the women that I remember, that I've read about and that I travelled with, did their very best, and we have done our very best to carry those hopes and dreams forward. Like in the 60s, there were women like Sheila Conroy, who was the first woman officer of the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, a very lonely place at that point in time. Essie Flynn, who argued for education for women inside the trade union movement, died a few years ago, but actually led a struggle in the 1980s to get a legal minimum wage for women contract cleaners. In the 70s, some of us, very young and very naive, fought to bring issues like sex and reproductive rights into the trade union movement. We stood shoulder to shoulder with the women's movement at the time to fight against the derogation of the Equal Pay Directive. And in the 80s, we spent a lot of time fighting to create individual committees and spaces and places where women could organise and our voices could be heard. And we were positive. We took on positive action. We were successful in some ways and not so successful in others. I think we have lamented for a long time the absence of women at the top of the trade union movement, and perhaps we've spent too much energy doing that, because I think we're on the verge now of something new inside the trade union movement, and that is that we're about inverting the pyramid. We want to take all of those women who are active along what I call the bottom of the pyramid, turn it around and make them the top and make them the leadership of the trade union movement, recognising collective action and recognising the contribution that the women have made, like the women in the Davenport Hotel dispute, who by their very courage and determination have scored a big political victory, which could not have been done, first of all, without trade union organisation, but also could not have been done by any number of speeches by male trade union leaders. It needed action, collective action on the ground, and that's what those women delivered. And I want to, in this celebration of 100 years of the women's movement and of International Women's Day, to pay tribute to the women that I work with, the hundreds and thousands of women inside the Irish Congress of Trade Unions. Do you know there are over 400,000 of us? We are 53% of the trade union movement. We participate in thousands of committees. We represent workers in thousands of workplaces. Every day we take our courage in our hands and we stand up for justice and fair play. And more we're dealing with mean-spirited, bullying and reactionary employers who recognise, even if we hadn't up to now, that they are in a class war with us, because they want to drive us back. They want to reduce our incomes. They want to delete legal minimum wages for women workers, and they want to drive us back into history. And I want to pay tribute to all the women, and some of my sisters are here today, because they are the brave women who have carried the hopes and dreams of these women forward into the next century, and they're going to keep up the fight.